There's a gap between wisdom and experiential wisdom. Wisdom could be just reading a book or hearsay, what is something that you can remember, but it may not connect to actually practicing it in living life. It's like learning how to swim in a classroom and practicing it. So it's obvious, but this obvious thing can be forgotten because our mind is so clever that we think we know when you hear the word, the concept, because you heard about it, people talk about it, and you can talk about it. So, but doesn't mean you are practicing it in daily life. Maybe you don't want to hear anymore. And if that's the case, you need to experience. And if you don't experience, you do whatever you do, and you get whatever you get. And if there's a bad habit that we developed over time, and that's one side, so that's your unconscious. It's a habit built in. And there's a concept that you pick up from somewhere, and you can talk as if you know everything about it. Maybe you think, I know something about what I'm talking about, but maybe I don't. So you have to have a critical way to judge what's going on, to make sense deeper out of whatever the situation than the superficial agreement or some behavior. So what it comes down to is the habitual pattern that we develop over time. And there are good ones that we benefit a great deal to live life and help people. There's a bad habit that we never learn, and worse, that we have a bad habit that twists to look at the world. And that bias can end up in hurting others and hurting ourselves. And how do we learn it? When you're little, you learn from parents and friends. After year 20 years old or something like that, nobody would give you, and you feel you are independent. You even think you have a free will. And I laugh at it because there's an argument I went through if there's free will or not. I'm not going to go into it, but my view is that the free will, if there is, to be free, it has to be connected to the heart. So you see things well and make a good judgment, not based upon the bad judgment that may be accumulated over time from younger days. It may not be your fault at all. Maybe the society's fault, or maybe we shouldn't blame someone, because each of us have gone through that, are going through that kind of process. That's learning. And the idea of plan, do, check, act, or Sila, Samadhi, Panna, I talk about, is the way to learn how you are processing things in your brain, but also connecting to the heart. In the brain, plan, do, check, act, or starting with check, that's what I always say. You start not just jumping into the thinking and conclusion, check what's going on, go through some analysis, develop a plan, what should be done, and then act upon it. So plan, act, and check again, and act, plan, do, check, act, plan, do, check, act. And the Shiva Samadhi Panna, the same way, but much deeper in the sense that wisdom you gain on your own, not from someone else. To do that, you have to have a calm and quiet mind, Samadhi. And prepare to that, you have to have a willingness to put whatever you think is right and you practice it. That's Sila, moral conduct, whatever that is to be truthful that you implement. But if you cannot implement but thinking only, there's a gap in between. So there's a gap between the brain and heart. So back to the wisdom and experiential wisdom. Let me go through a scenario. If we or you develop a bad habit, and over time you repeat. In the other videos I mentioned about the experience curve and forgetting curve. They are the flip side of the same coin. Experiential curve is that when you practice repetitively, then you develop a skill. So repetition is mother of skill. Unfortunately, if you repeat a bad thing and develop bad habit, it becomes a solid bad habit. And it's a sad story for that individual, but for the society. You can say it's not the individual's fault because it's the parents and the society is wrong. But it doesn't cut it. Each of us is to go through the growth, baby, child, adult, but the process doesn't end. Even if there's nobody teaching you, there's lots of books and you know lots of words and words of wisdom, but it's only stayed in the brain but not developed into your unconscious or connecting to the heart that you can experience, that you can execute, act upon. Then this idea of plan, do, check, act, or Sila, Samadhi, Panna doesn't have a solid base, the ground and the principle to work on. So, as I said, experience curve, forgetting curve, things left alone would go down experientially. So the memory goes down 70%, another 70%, another 70%, every doubling time, or 80%, whatever the case is. Or the learning curve, if you have some idea and have insight developed, or practice a plan, do, check, act, or Sila, Samadhi, Panna, and come up with great idea. Now, that's what you want to build upon, and how do you build upon so that you don't forget. If you don't practice, it goes down exponentially. Just like a muscle, it gets weakened unless you use it. So the opposite is the building up, so repeating the concept so that it's not the class learning of the swimming, but in this case, living is what we are talking about in reality. And then we all need to have a reflective moment of what's going on. More we do it regularly, it's like a music, harmony, tone, and rhythm. Good rhythm repetitively, and good tone for each of the idea, and harmonize so that collectively it makes sense. We need to do that individually, plan, do, check, act, Sila, Samadhi, Panna, at the brain level, but connecting to the heart. But we want to do it with organization. So that's the idea of mini company, glasswall management, and other stuff I've talked about. And it also applying to yourself. Within me, there's many me. That's what I say, like a little department within yourself. And in the video, I mentioned about the life profile idea. So in this case, there's the mission of what you want to achieve and who are the customer suppliers and what the strategy. And you look into key element of who you are, like a department within a company. Instead of the company and mini company, mini company, you have you divided into mini-me's, and the many, many me's. But they're all connected as a network, so it's more convoluted, but for the sake of discussion, I use the word mini me. So in my case, I mentioned in this life profile video, there are 6 items. The critical one is be sincere and truthful. I put the rating of 10 as the goal, and I check every now and then, every 3 months or so, which I have done for the last 24 years. So that's major one. And along with it, there's a subject of the work, hobby, relationship, health, and finance. You can break it down further, but those are 6 ones that I have been doing for the last 24 years after my awakening experience, that I want to live my life truthfully, but I want it to be sincere to be truthful. So those are the words. Number 1 idea is be truthful, but sincerely. So be sincere and truthful. And I monitor the PDCA process for that 6th element, which I posted in the other video. So that's the repetition is mother of skills. And for the last 24 years, there's up and down. There's ups and downs. But I feel subjectively, and by monitoring with numbers, goals, what's the rating and actual satisfaction level, and comment and summary comment, what's the lessons learned, what's the main focus, and how I do, that kind of a quarterly report, maybe 3 months, 4 months, whatever the cycle or period that you practice. It's like annual report. You look at yourself in the mirror, what you're doing. So that's tying to the idea of the wisdom to experiential wisdom, practice of PDCA and Sila Samadhi Panna. I'm talking various terms. If you want to know more about it, you should just check on my YouTube channel. What is Sila Samadhi Panna, or plan, do, check, act, or wisdom, or compassion, whatever the term. Then you can look into it, kind of like a summary now, that how things need to be consolidated, integrated, so that the idea of coming up with wisdom, you can borrow idea from others, but you need to experience it and share how it's done. Look yourself in the mirror, reflect every certain frequency, and then move on to the next cycle. As much as I shared with this idea of the mini company and glass bowl management, so that whole idea is practiced for each department unit, as if a company with a customer, suppliers, and vision, and they orchestrate how to manage. So it's a self-managing principle. At the highest level, there's a mini company, and the middle level and the lower level, but they have the same concept applied, so they speak the same language. And the glass wall management, it makes things visible so that everybody understands red and green, good and bad, what is being done, even to the level of developing an annual report. So those are some of the things I mentioned in my books. But here is, again, the importance of the experience built upon your personal issues, typically pains. And if you have a pain, my suggestion is realize what is important. If the habitual pattern is influencing you, how to eliminate or reduce the impact of the bad habit. And if you practice Sila Samadhi Panna, plan, to check, act, you come up with the wisdom ideas to implement, and that will make this change. It is like exponential difference. You eliminate the wrongdoing, you practice the right doing with the wisdom, and you may have a 2%, 3% per year or per month of a difference, but it's exponential. Next 6 months or 3 months, whatever the case may be, another 3%, 4%, another improvement. So it's multiplying exponentially. So that's how we should look at not just the short term, instant gratification, and not just picking one thing and do, but not looking at the whole thing. It doesn't cut it. You have to manage your own life. We have to. And not just in the brain, but connected to the heart. Only with experience and actual doing and learning PDCA, Sila, Samadhi, Panna, you can develop a good habit and negate the bad habit and not complain others. And at the same time, I'm sure you reduce the pain so that you can work on your negative habit. Repetition is the mother of success. So that's the spirit. It may not be easy, but that's part of the reason, or perhaps the main reason of my talking in the YouTube, to share those ideas I've written in the books and so forth. But also, what's good for me is to repeat what I believe and what I go through in life and share the process in the YouTube. So I'm benefiting on my own. Hopefully, there may be people who listen and practice and gain some benefit. But if I can help others, but also helping myself, I think it's a good idea. So, process is not that simple. Some major hurdles may happen. But with good spirit and combining those ideas and practicing it, just like a kid's learning how to crawl and walk and stand and run and learn stuff, the words and the logic. But if you do too much and think you have everything and you're independent and you have a free will, I think you may need to find a way to find the wisdom as you move on. We all need to do that. And collectively we can share those ideas. I believe we may have a happy life. May all beings be happy. Have a dream. Good luck. Thank you.